Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance, your home on the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network for any and all things Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts, as always, Katie Rintler, and joining me, as always, Clay. Clay, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty well. I have had a week. It's not even a day, a week. I have a full. What's today? Wednesday? Holy crap!
Yep.
Today's only Wednesday. I think I have 32 hours already clocked in. So I'm like a day
Wow.
ahead. I'm a day ahead as far as hours go, but work wise, I still am a day behind. So
Yeah.
a little behind the scenes, I am doing this podcast. I am recording DCA right after this. And then right after DCA, I'm going to do a lot of editing stuff. And then I'm going back to work tonight to catch up on everything.
Back to work?
Yeah. And like I've told my boss this, the only reason why I do this, it's a very small company. I am going to stop doing it once we move because we are moving warehouses. We're going from like, hey, family owned to like, hey, corporate warehouse now. So like we our warehouse is literally like a double wide like freaking trailer. Like it's very,
Yeah.
very small.
Yeah.
But I literally live like less than 10 minutes away from it. So like whenever they need anything, they always call me. They're like, "Hey, clock in, go do this, and then you can clock out." And I'm like, "Cool, just extra money, sweet." And so I will no longer have the luxury of that next month
Yeah.
because I am moving and the warehouse is moving. So it's going to be a very large difference in locations. So, because of that, they and I are taking advantage as much as we can in this last month for me to make as much money as I can and for them to get as much work done. So it's driving me insane, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel that. That used to be me at my old job.
And
Now I have worked 40 hours.
I've told them, I said I'm not usually one to go above and beyond, but because you're paying me for it, like because
Yeah.
I hate for jobs to be like, hey, will you go above and beyond? I'm like, for $7.25? Hell
No.
no. Like so, I'm cool with it, but it's gonna be a crazy week and a half, and then once I move, it's just all going to go. Like my energy level is just gonna stay here, and I'm just gonna stay
Mhm.
stagnant. I'm not going in any direction. I'm just gonna relax for a good like 9 months work
When
wise.
are you supposed to graduate again?
I graduate. It's an accelerated accelerated learning program. I am going to graduate February or March of 2023. So I have 1 year. So
Woo-hoo.
I am super excited
So
about that
close.
also. I know, I know.
So close.
I kind of rushed homework last week, and my professor like basically called me out on it. He's like, "Hey, this shit is kind of bad, so do better next time." I was like, "Okay." Oh man.
All right, well, y'all, we've got a short-ish show tonight. We've got a couple small pieces of news, one very big rumor, because again, I don't believe in scoopers, y'all. Um, and then we're gonna talk about Book of Boba Fett episode 3. But before we get into that, y'all, we do have to hit the podcast paperwork side of things. Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network where we have 8 shows 7 days a week. Slice Film is on Sundays, which is currently on hiatus. Love you guys. Mondays, you've got 1 week, you've got World's Finest True Believers. The opposite week, you've got Ranger Alliance. Tuesdays, you've got DC Alliance. Wednesdays, you've got superhero discussions. Thursdays, you're here already. You know, it's Star Wars Alliance Day. Fridays, you've got Marvel Alliance. And every other Saturday, you've got a walk through the multiverse. So that is our shows. Um, the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network is an ad supported network, which means we do have ads in this episode, unless you're listening on Patreon, which we do appreciate if you're a Patreon supporter. Um, I or Clay will try and give you a warning in advance before those occur, but just so y'all know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from. nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud they are. So that warning's just to give you a heads up to prepare those volume levels. We do appreciate you listening to the ads, as they do help support the network and the podcast as a whole. If you want to listen to ad-free episodes, like I said, you can support us on Patreon. We've got 2 tiers. The $1 tier helps keep the Kyber Crystals charged around here, and the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. Fun fact, Patreon is coming back to life this year. So we've got some special stuff planned. I do know what I am planning on doing. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I have been reading the Star Wars Legends, and I've also been getting into Star Wars comics. So starting next month, I'm going to be doing a canon comics episode and a Star Wars Legends episode. So those will be twice a month, or each one will have one per month. But if you're interested in that, you can join us on the $5 tier to get those episodes. And if you're interested in any of them, I'd love to get like your thoughts or whatever, so I can share them. So, but yeah, did I hit everything? Oh, we will be talking about spoilers for Book of Boba Fett episode 3 today.
There is one more thing, of course. This is specifically for the Star Wars Alliance solo feed. We are doing a giveaway at the end of the Book of Boba Fett, so be prepared for that. To enter to win, of course, all you have to do is submit a review. Now, can you submit a review on Spotify, or is it just ratings so far? I have not checked. I am not a big.
I think it's just ratings.
Okay, well, first, please rate us on Spotify. Apparently, that is new for the year of 2022. So go check that out. But on Apple Podcasts or any of your podcatchers or whatever that allows you to do reviews. Unfortunately, I think that the world just loves Apple, and so Apple is the way to go. But go to your Apple Podcasts, review us. Whether it be 1 star or 5 stars, send a review. We will put you into the drawing for a Star Wars Legends The Old Republic omnibus that is being gifted to us by the sponsors of the Marvel Alliance show. That is Organic Price Books, home of your collected trades and omnibuses. I will say they are excellent at what they do and what they provide. So go check them out using the code MarvelGUA, and that you will get $2 off every single purchase, every single time. It is a repetitive code. Now, I will say this also for our international listeners and reviewers. We can't send that book to you, but what we can send you is a $100 gift card to Organic Price Books. They shipped around the world. We, unfortunately, just don't have the means of doing so. So please still review us. We appreciate your words. Just, if you want to dog on me for what I say with this episode, and Katie loves the hot takes, and we're gonna I'm gonna talk about this episode specifically because it's the new episode, but we're gonna have words about this episode.
We will have words about this episode.
So please just send in those reviews, and I need at least 10 people in order for Nathan to be thrown into that drawing. So come on, guys. Come on. Help him out.
Yeah. And y'all, I have not gotten anything. Star Wars Alliance has not gotten any submissions on their Twitter. Remember, you got to send us a screenshot to our Twitter page at Star Wars Alliance or Slice of Katie or Fanboy Clay.
Yes.
So any 3 of those, you can send us a screenshot and you will be entered. So, yeah.
Yep, that is it.
Yes, that is it. So let's dive into the news real quick. So you want to go Mandalorian season 3 first?
Let's do that because in the order we got this news, it is just the fact that we have received news that the Mandalorian season 3 has been delayed in filming. Now, I wonder, okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Ahsoka, has it started or has it not started yet? I can't remember.
Oh, my jaw just popped out of place. Oh, that sucks. Anyways,
Ow.
it does it a lot. um, so Ahsoka was originally predicted to begin filming in January. This report from the Besman Bulletin says that Ahsoka is not predicted to start filming until March, which I was under the assumption that it had already started filming because I think Besman Bulletin, for one, um, said that they were starting January 5th. It's January 12th. So now you're telling me it starts in March.
Yeah, and there was a
I hate
lot.
scoopers.
Well, there was a lot of back and forth because I think it was Rosario Dawson that had said something to Kevin Smith saying,
Yeah,
"Hey, I can't do this thing because I'll be busy around that time." And everybody was like,
that's what it
"Oh,
was.
it's Ahsoka." So there is evidence of there may be something going on, but not
Mhm.
necessarily Ahsoka itself. So S says I haven't heard anything about Ahsoka starting. So, you know, I think we all would have heard something. So I do think that if Mandalorian season 3 is delayed in filming, I think Ahsoka is coming up after saying it's going to be delayed
Yes.
as well.
So, and they're not delayed for any particular reason on set. It is just because of the rise in Omicron cases
Hmm.
in Los Angeles, which is why they're just making the decision. Because the cast and crew were all on holiday break, so this is just say, hey, y'all stay home. Let's see how cases go, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And they'll move from there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because originally it's supposed to premiere, I think, end of December timeframe, probably
yeah.
falling along the lines of Book of Boba Fett, or early next spring. So where will that go? As Bubs, we do not speak her name. We don't speak her name.
Oh my
You do
gosh.
not want to send me on a tangent about the She Witch.
Oh man, I mean, for listeners, S Bubs is quoting an individual that Katie does not like a lot, and I will say I think most of the GUA network does not like her. To be completely honest, we do
She's a
not speak her name.
liar.
She's almost like Voldemort, but I'm more comfortable with saying Lord Voldemort than I am her name. So.
Yes.
But the next bit of news is one that I'm not entirely sure about. Now, you did make a good point. There is a good portion of time within the Star Wars universe, the Star Wars storytelling, a good block of timeline that would be perfect for her story. And I say her story because there is rumors of there possibly being, and of course we are just dubbing it this way because I mean we got the book of Boba Fett, so there is possibly going to be a book of Bo Katan. And now I joked on the GOA chat and I was like, the book of Bo Katan? Like, are you sure it's not just a chapter of Bo Katan? Like, because I think it's the Mandalorian story, but just like a book. Like, like again, I will say this. Is it smart for Disney Plus? It just dawned on me. Is it smart for Disney Plus to just keep these things on Disney Plus for them to keep getting subscribers? Yes. But just think of the steelbook possibilities of
I'm
like
so
the
sad.
book spine of
I know.
The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, The Book of Bo Katan, and you can make it look like your Star Wars Legends books or your current High Republic books. Like, do you know how much that would sell?
It would make a shit ton of money, Disney. If you're listening, which you probably aren't listening,
You're probably
please
not,
fucking
but
do
just
that.
like just the idea of making the cases look like books because these are chapters in a saga.
Hmm.
Like it would make so much sense. Espub says Bo-Katan Star Wars one shot. I mean a Star Wars story. Do you? Oh man, do you remember the rumors of like when like we first started hearing of a bounty hunter, maybe like a freaking Boba Fett, a Star Wars story, or like
Hmm.
Yoda, a Star Wars story. Man, those days
And
were hype.
and this is my thing to say to all these rumors, because again, we got a Kira show last week from the same scooper, and now we got a Bo-Katan story. And to me, the Bo-Katan story makes more sense. It
Yes.
ties better into the Mandalorian than I think Book of Boba Fett is going right now. Granted, Book of Boba Fett still has 4 episodes, but we'll get to that. Um, because obviously, Mandalorian season 3 is going to tackle Din Djarin handling the Darksaber. Whether that's he keeps it, whether he fights Bo-Katan and is like, okay, yeah, here, I'm going to purposely lose. Here you go. So the history of the Darksaber is something that a lot of Star Wars fans have come to know and love. But that it also means they kind of want the how did it get from Bo-Katan to Moff Gideon? And honestly, that's a story I'd like to see too. And there's not enough authors that are willing to go write Star Wars right now that Del Rey or Disney are like, yeah, you can write a Star Wars. There's not enough of those to go in and go, oh yeah, we're gonna write this story. Plus, we all know how the story group is. I mean, the Mandalorian novel that Adam Christopher was supposed to write was canceled because the story group said, yeah, we want to hold off on that for right now.
It is
So
just as easy for these people to hire the exact same people for their show. Just saying. Let them tell their story. Like,
mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for the day that I get the announcement that Kevin Scott is writing on one of these episodes, or
Mm-hmm.
is writing a new series, or writing a new movie. Like, come on, people. Like, I will say this: Star Wars Alliance is about to have their Fallen Star review. Whew, Claudia Gray. I'm still, I'm still kind of rearing off of that. And again, I'm gonna do it all over again because again, like I said, we're reviewing it pretty close or pretty soon,
I
so I'm
know.
gonna have to listen to
I'm
it
starting my
again.
physical copy read.
I still have not received my physical copy, so
Because you got the out of print,
yeah,
right?
I did get the out of
I
print.
got both. Because y'all, just as a different side note, because I'm also super proud of this and I'm also really nostalgic, so I just want to share. Like, I have spent way too much money in the past couple days, but my Legends collection will be complete as of
I
Saturday.
I am very proud as a comic book reader for you to be buying as much comic books as you are. And
Yes,
like I said
yes,
last week,
yes.
your shelf looks amazing. You posted it on Twitter the other day. Looks absolutely amazing. Now, I want to say something here. S Bubs is saying in the chat something that I think a lot of people have been wondering about the Disney Plus, just streaming service as an
Mm-hmm.
idea. He says, I wonder if they would do a Disney Plus Star Wars movie. Maybe Bo Katan, like how Batgirl is going to HBO Max. Well, that might go to theaters with like Blue Beetle. Now, I there are Disney Plus original movies already that are like strictly what would have been like, the
Mm-hmm.
classic
They've got
Disney
Stacy. They've
Channel
got Home
original movie.
Alone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've had movies that have dropped originally on Disney Plus. I think it would be smart if they did do these things for Disney Plus as well. It drives more subscribers, it gives you more content. And yes, I know there's a big argument right now. You know, not everybody's going to bring in a Spider-Man No Way Home like every
Mm-hmm.
single, especially the year starting off with crazy numbers of Omicron. Like I think it would be smarter to start thinking of IPs like Star Wars, like Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
but especially right now Star Wars, to throw in the original movie for Disney Plus.
And I think that would make more sense than maybe some of the live action TV shows we're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, you could have almost, if you're going to do Mandalorian the way you're doing, you could almost just make it like a series of long films where it's like, okay, you've got 3 hours. Here's a good interlude point. Like, do it that way instead. Because I mean, Mandalorian season 2, I don't think it crossed the 2.5 hour mark in terms of how long each episode was. And
Yeah.
so Book of Boba Fett has been longer. I'll give it that. But I think you'd honestly spend less money making a movie versus having these stories across 7 episodes, because I think that I don't even want to guess at the budget for these shows, y'all, but
Well, it said, let's just put it this way. It is said, and I just recently looked this up because we kind of had the conversation over at DC Alliance, that the Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus, Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Hawkeye,
mhm,
are anywhere in the ballpark of $150 million.
mhm.
So,
And that's an average movie right there.
yeah.
And like you got some of these HBO Max TV shows that are going for like almost $100 million an episode. Like the last season of Game of Thrones was $100 million an episode, I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but it was high millions, and you're honestly probably hitting that with Star Wars with how much special effects you're doing and everything. So if you cleaned up the storyline and cut a lot of the fluff, you could have a very streamlined story that still tells what you wanted to tell.
Yeah. And I think that the idea of doing an original Disney Plus movie for Star Wars gives you more content to be able to say, hey, we don't necessarily have to tell this story in your super high budget theatrical movie because we can set that story aside, do it here, and you can have multiple places for your movies. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is a very interesting idea, or having it connect to something like a Mandalorian. There is that rumor that there is going to be a trifecta crossover type event with
Yeah.
Boba Fett and Ahsoka and Mandalorian. Well, why not make it a movie? You know, and so that way you have the three shows, and then you have the movie for your like finale event. You know?
Because all of the actors you're pulling in to these shows are movie stars in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. They've done movies, so why not? And y'all, I'm struggling right now. I just changed my setup around. I promise I'm looking at the screen. It doesn't look like it because I hadn't changed
Oh
my
no,
camera
I
placement.
I
I'll fix it.
I have I haven't even perfected it yet because for one, like I am looking at you on the screen, but my camera's up here, so it looks like I'm looking down instead of up. And so I feel like it's a very awkward to just look at the camera and talk without looking
Yeah,
at you.
my
Like it just
camera's right
looks
here.
it feels awkward. So I promise guys, we are talking to you over there on the YouTube universe. But that is basically it. SBub's
Yeah,
very good discussion. Thank you so much. I feel like that is something that is not a big conversation, and I think it needs to be. I genuinely think that it needs to be a bigger conversation because, I mean, why not have movies on a streaming service with one of your
yeah.
biggest IPs?
Thanks, Nathan.
Yes, Katie is wrapped up in her Star Wars blanket. I
I'm
recently
still
got
cold from COVID, so
I recently got I forgot to wear it today. I have two Mandalorian t-shirts. I have
ooh,
one of course Din Djarin and Grogu, and then I just have one that is Christmas themed that is Grogu and with a Christmas hat on.
yes.
But yeah. Uh, but before we jump into the Book of
I
Boba
guess do we just
Fett,
want to hit the one quick thing about Dave Filoni?
oh
Just so
yes,
like,
yes, this is kind of going into the Book of Boba Fett, but we did receive news. I sent this to Katie, and she had a very like obvious snarky comeback, but it is true. So the news, it's nothing big, just for the fact that Dave Filoni is going to be co-writing on episode 6 of this season, and Katie was just like,
that,
"Oh, so it looks like we're gonna get a Clone Wars or Rebels character in,
yeah.
Filoni verse character in the Book of
A
Boba
lot of
Fett."
people have said a lot of people have said Cad Bane, and I want to clarify, y'all. I really enjoy the stuff that Dave Filoni has written with Clone Wars. Um, and I really enjoyed last week's episode that Favreau wrote. But part of my issue with this is I guess I just want to see more writers get into the writer room. Because Favreau's written the majority of the live action TV shows. Filoni has written second most, and then you have Rick Famuyiwa, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, I want to see some other people get in there, get some other critiques going on there. I think the Acolyte will be a great opportunity because, gosh, I can't even remember her name. Is it Leslie? I think it's Leslie Headland. Y'all, I'm sorry. But the Acolyte showrunner, she's done a great job with getting other people into the writer's room and trying to say, okay, you've never seen Star Wars. What do you think Star Wars should be like? And kind of roping them. We've talked about it before. It's on a previous episode somewhere, y'all. I promise.
Yeah.
But it feels like Book of Boba Fett is repeating the Mandalorian story tropes and in some way, shape, or form Star Wars tropes. And we'll get into that. But yeah, so we'll see what happens.
SPub says Cad Bane was rumored for this show forever ago, but I haven't heard anything recently, so I don't think so. Of course, people, if anybody is new listening to this, SBubs is our, I guess I'm waiting for him to secretly just go up into the ranks of like A rank or A tier scooper, because SBubs has all of the goodies when it comes to DC, when it comes to Marvel, when it comes to Star Wars. He's dropping spoilers in the GeekVerse YouTube or the GeekVerse Discord all the freaking time. So, and I feel like he is secretly, this is his job. He is getting paid by Marvel. He's getting paid by Star Wars. It's under the table, of course. So, a little hush hush on that. But let's go ahead and take our very first ad break, and then we will come back for the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 3. And we are back. So, Katie, we had a semi-small discussion in our GUA chat recently, just because there are some what seems like negative opinions still about this show. Talking to you, Snell. Snell, like, you called him out on it, and I'm glad somebody did, because I've been talking to him about it all the time. And you said, oh, you just clearly lost your love of Star Wars. And it's very odd, because I feel like The Mandalorian almost 100% a widely success. Like, everybody loved Mandalorian. No matter who it was, new Star Wars fans, old Star Wars fans, the majority loved Mandalorian. Then you have your controversial sequel trilogy, and then you have, of course, coming in now with the Book of Boba Fett. So people are still on the fence about this show. What do you think that it is?
So, first of all, today's show, well, okay, no, that's not the first thing I want to say. First thing I want to say is Danny fucking Trejo, bitch. Like, I was so excited. I was so excited. And I know him and Robert Rodriguez are good friends, and Danny Trejo appears in a lot of stuff Robert does, and as Robert is the showrunner, it makes absolute sense. Snell had a comment that he doesn't want anybody recognizable in Star Wars, but it's perfectly acceptable for recognizable faces to be in Marvel or DC.
Well, no, like, if that was the case, then he wouldn't like Morrison as Boba Fett. He wouldn't like, oh shoot,
Ming-Na Wen?
Yeah, as Finnick. He wouldn't like, who was the guy who was the guy that showed up in the very beginning of this episode? Oh shoot.
Worth Appeal? Who
The
is he?
the one that came in talking about people
The
stealing his
Watermonger?
water. Yeah.
Why Lortha Peel from the Book of Boba Fett looks so familiar?
Cuz he's the dude from Get Out and from oh shoot, what is the
Stephen
other?
Root.
Hold on.
He has
I
been in Succession, Mini Prestige, Barry, um, Perry
yes,
Mason,
yeah.
Boardwalk Empire, News Radio.
He is a very very recognizable actor. Like
I had no idea who he was.
I immediately knew who he was as soon as he started talking. I was like, "Oh, it's that dude." Uh yeah, like and the, I was almost gonna hit him back with like, "Oh, so are you gonna get completely out of it when you see Hayden Christensen in Ahsoka?" But like he's gonna throw in, "Oh, well, he got famous because of Star Wars, so it doesn't count." Like
Oh, well, he hates prequels too, so.
it's so silly, honestly. Like again, Star Wars has, and even in the prequels, like there is cameos of
Liam
famous.
Neeson! For the love of everything!
Liam Neeson is in Star
Samuel
Wars.
L. Jackson!
Daniel Craig was in a Star Wars movie. Like,
You
come
couldn't
on,
see his
people.
face,
You couldn't
but
see his face, but you could hear his voice. It was mostly recognizable. Like,
it
come
did.
on,
I was in
people.
the theater and I was like, is that Daniel Craig?
It's like it is an IP that everybody loves and everybody just wants to get. Like Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in Star Wars. Of course, he was just a voice, but he's in Star Wars. Like,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
come on. It's again, it
Heck,
just
the
like
Princes of England wanted to be in Star Wars.
I'm gonna call him a hypocrite because he wants some of the biggest names and the biggest actors in Marvel. That's what he always screams about. He's like, no, you can't have a martial artist. You need an actor. No, you can't have anybody with a mask. You need an actor. No, you can't have googly white eyes because you need an actor. Like, that is all. Like, Snell is a fucking Oscar snob. I'm gonna say it. He doesn't care about anything else and he acts like he's all big and bad. Oh, I know this because I watch professional A24 movies. Blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I'm sorry. And the whole thing that he was arguing against today, I will admit this because I still hate the phrase. As much as he gets on my nerves, do not use the saying, oh, well, if you just turn off your brain and watch it. No, people, that means you're brain dead. You have to enjoy something. In order to enjoy something, you have to be dead? No, not acceptable either. Not acceptable. It is
I
so
can't believe his fiance replied to that tweet.
That was funny. That was funny. S Bubs even says that Adam Driver, of course, is in. He says unless it's Adam Driver, and again, that's all he wants is Snell just wants Adam Driver back. Yeah, Donnie Yen from Row One. You know, so I
Lots
don't
of cool
see.
people in Star Wars.
There's a lot of cool
So,
people in Star Wars. So Danny Trejo is just another face that I'm sorry you're like. It's a cool experience. You're gonna remember him when you watch the show again. But like, if you don't watch the show again, you're not gonna remember. So it doesn't hurt whatsoever. You know,
yeah.
it's just a small
So,
piece of storytelling.
exactly. Um, so that was probably the biggest part of the episode for me. Is because I just love Danny Trejo. He's just so fun to get like a kick out of because he looks like this fucking badass. And then he's just like, oh yeah, they have feelings. And it's just like
It's so funny. This is something that Danny Trejo has done multiple times. He plays a scary looking individual, but like is kind hearted at heart.
yeah.
So I kind of like the trope of him doing that more and more. Just because he has played some really like just ruthless characters in the past. But I will say this: the one part that I don't know how I feel about it. So there is a gang of, what would you call them? Like cyborgs, basically.
I called them cyborg gangs in my review because
Yeah.
they don't give a name and they don't they don't give any of the human with alterations like a name. So I'm just like, okay, you get cyborg gang.
Yeah, cyborg gang. One of them has like a robot arm. One of them has a robot eye or whatever. But they all have Power Ranger motorcycles. And so I was like, I like the color, but they look too new. And like, I don't know.
See,
This is
they
what
didn't
gets
look new to me though.
it.
They didn't look new to me though. And it was nice seeing color on the streets of Tatooine.
No, it is nice. It is nice, and that's the thing. I like seeing the color, but because of how jarring and new that they looked compared to the entire setting of Tatooine, it was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
See, I think they're a cyborg street gang. That's what they're called by the watermonger. And it so for me, street gangs are always associated with cool cars.
With their cars or their bikes. Yes. And I
And
thought about that later on. And so I'm not like, that's why I'm a little like hung up on it. I don't know how to feel about it.
well, and see, but they even when the major domo goes and escapes through the office, they come out and they're talking about they're talking about, oh yeah, my bike's better than yours, and Shane's like, oh yeah, go get him, and then that's when the chase starts, and so I'm like, it is completely believable to me that yes, they look new, but it's because they care a lot and they just want to be fast.
Yeah, yeah. SPub says that cartoon scene even hit the fruit cart and the two guys carrying the painting. Surprised they didn't hit two guys carrying a mirror. Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
the chase scene was cringe and
You have to remember
clunky.
also something that almost every actor says when in an interview with whoever: Star Wars is for kids. So you're gonna have moments like that for us are like, we didn't necessarily need that, but at the end, like for me, the whole hitting the cart at the end of that chase scene and seeing all the fruit
With
fall.
Melu runs.
Yes, they were Melu runs. And I immediately thought of Rebels, and I was like, oh, I want to watch Rebels. And I'm actually going to shout out Greg, old DCA host. He finally started Rebels today. Good on him. I'm so proud of him. I cannot wait to talk to him about it. Rebels is, so good. So,
Super Civil Servants is doing a Star Wars focused episode this week. Again, we haven't talked about them in a little bit, but they are always live Friday nights at 9 p.m. unless they tell you otherwise on their Twitter. So I will be making an appearance. I know Taylor Field is supposed to be making an appearance. I think Nathan, you're even making an appearance. So yeah, if you want to talk more about Star Wars, come join us this Friday to talk about it. But yes, he's watching Rebels. Good for
very,
him.
very nice.
It's taken him a long time.
No, so like that entire, I feel like the entire chase scene was worth it with the Melu runs. Like it was just a callback to me, and so I was like, oh, that was really, really fun. Now,
I disagree, but because it
I
was
mean,
very
again,
clunky.
you have the other parts of the chase scene as well. You have the like the going up the stairway with the
Yeah,
red.
some of it was fun, but when I say clunky, like, and I get Star Wars is for kids and everything, so like the painting, I didn't have a problem with the painting or the fruit cart or anything. My problem was with just all the cuts that were happening, and I know the
Yes.
streets of Tatooine are tight, but it was just really jarring to watch it, and I watched it twice this morning while I was writing my review, and it's just like vroom 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 vroom, and it's like, okay, wait, which way are we going again?
You have the over the shoulder cams, you have the end of the street cams, you have the following of the bikers, there's a lot there. And I can understand how it can be a little jarring, a little dizzy, and a little confusing when watching that scene. I completely understand that. But the whole idea behind that chase scene is we met the mayor last week. He was, almost fearless, it seemed, even when
Yep.
confronted with Boba Fett. But it seems that he may be a little scared.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. He is running to the pikes. He said his right hand said that he
The
was
major
working
domo.
working with the Pikes. So that is a new development here on this show. Now, also, kind of glossed over it in the very beginning, but the flashback. Thanks, Nathan, for giving us that phrase now on this show. The flashback was interrupted this this episode. Now you can kind of say, yeah, it was the end of that flashback but I do think it was because it was opening up. I think he was
Yeah.
waking up because of it, and he got a little surprise this this
So
evening.
let's talk about the flashback to first.
Okay, okay.
So I forgot to talk about this in my written review this morning because getting up at 3 a.m. and then writing, terrible, terrible idea, but pays the bills somehow. Just kidding. So the flashback though, we get another glimpse of young Boba on Camino, and he's watching Slave One fly off, and then we see an adult Boba Fett, and he's got his own bantha. He heads to Mos Eisley to get to the Pike Syndicate's place of business, and the head Pike tells him, "Hey, we can't pay both the Tuskens and the Speeder Bike gang from the last episode, which we get a name for." So the Pike Syndicate guy calls them the Kenton Striders, and Boba calls them the Nikto Sand Riders. So I don't know which one, because that was a little funky to me.
Do those names sound familiar to you? Reading legend
No.
stuff or anything? Okay. I was just wondering. I this I'm thankful that this flashback was a little shorter than the rest. Now, I will say, last episode was fun. I did enjoy it. This, I don't necessarily think it's the end of the flashback,
No.
but it kind of felt like it because we, as the audience, thought, okay, this is how he is rescued by the Tusken Raiders, maybe. And then, we'll see where he is until he meets, or kind of coming up to the point of when he meets Din Djarin. That's what I assumed,
Yeah,
but
I still think we're gonna get a Ming Na Wen flashback to where he rescues her and helps get her healed with the cybernetics, and kind of see them bond, because I know Fennec Shand um, feels like she owes him a life debt, which is why
mhm.
she's continuing to work with him. But I still want to see that relationship kind of develop, as well as Ming Na Wen really hasn't gotten a moment to shine like she did in The Mandalorian. Um, but the main thing I wanted to talk about with the flashback is Fett says he will resolve it and heads back to the Tusken Raider camp, only to find that all of the Tusken Raiders in the camp that he was living in are dead, including the warrior, chieftain, and kid. And spray painted on one of the tents is the Nikto Sand Riders logo that we saw in the last episode. Or first episode. I don't remember which
Yeah, it
one.
was the first
But
episode. It was the first episode, and then flashbacked to in the second episode, and then
okay.
flashbacked again into this episode.
Gotcha. So for me, I really hate the let's kill everyone trope. I hate that they killed all the Tusken Raiders. I think they've been trying to redeem the Tusken Raiders this whole time with like the Mandalorian stuff, and then you've got this, and you're like, okay, the Tusken Raiders really have a soul, and you're interested to know more about them and how their processes work and everything, and then you're just like, okay, yeah, bye, and it's just like it's really abrupt.
Yeah, I don't know exactly if that is. Let me think about this real quick.
Because it feels like
The
episode 4 when Owen and Beru die.
yes, it very much does. I will give you that. It does have that same kind of. I mean, because Luke came in and it was unabrupt, like the same thing. There was smoke and everything, and then he saw the bodies. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing for Boba Fett. I will say that yes, it is very much a trope. I don't know because there's a part of me that says, okay, we clearly know Boba Fett can survive on his own, but it was nice to have this other factor in there as the Tusken Raiders to build those relationships and whatnot. Like you give us this kid to build up the fact that he watched over Boba Fett when he was a slave, and that's basically it. You don't give us anything else because now he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Unless technically they didn't show the kid. So, just like every famous comic book story, they're not dead until you see a body, you know? So, could we see the
I
kid
just
again? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not entirely too sure if we will. Uh, but I get the sentiment of like, hey, maybe we should have gotten more of these Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, because I think just for me, they've developed so much of an indigenous culture
Hmm.
with the Tuscans, and it's just again talking about like how everyone thought they were savages, and but they actually have a lot of heart behind them and why they do see things, and heck, even Morrison has really developed his gosh, I'm gonna butcher this, the his New Zealander heritage, Maori,
Hmm.
um because I did some research and the dance at the end was actually based on one of the native dances.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it sucks, and I think Jordan from Cinelinx said it best. He said, I can't say I didn't see it coming. It's such a common trope. I would have been more surprised if the tribe had survived. But it feels like they had tried so hard to buck against that trend that just to see them take that route this time really sucked.
Like, if anything, if you're going to say that the plan was to always kill them off, and that kind of motivates Boba to rule with a heavy hand but with a peaceful hand, whatever he wants to decide to do as, this new ruler of Tatooine, like, have us like see what the hell happened. Let these Tusken Raiders go down with the fight. Like, yeah, you can assume that they did, but there's so much burnt and so much carnage that it looks like it was a surprise attack and they all just died. Like,
Yeah. And like Boba doesn't need more reason to get a revenge story. He's found a new family with the Tusken Raiders, and he's already lost his dad once.
yeah.
So having him lose his second family again, he didn't need help with a revenge story. He was gonna handle the Pikes and the Nikto speeder bike gang
Hmm.
just fine. He didn't need that, and so I hate that that has to happen to him again because I feel like it just cheapens the depth of character they were trying to provide Boba. So
Yeah, I can see it. I can see that. But that he ends the flashback to with walking away with the bantha. You see it
yep.
kind of go hazy, go into that blue fade, and then he wakes up. He sees the bacta start to release. The door opens, and in comes in
All that
Chrysanthemum.
Bacta on the floor. That's such a waste.
Such a waste. Yeah. And Chrysanthemum just grabs him by the shoulders and just throws him clear across the freaking room. Now,
Boba gets his butt kicked.
yeah, he gets knocked on the floor several times. And I will say this, it kind of grossed me out. I don't know if it was like an actual injury or anything. I didn't hear anything when filming this, but there's a moment when Chrysanthemum is bear hugging,
Oh,
Wookiee
I love
hugging.
that sound where the bones crack.
He's Wookiee
Oh,
hugging Boba, and it pans down to his feet. His big toe is bent all the way up if you look at his toe. And I
oh
was like,
gosh.
oh no, what happened? But then the next scene, it's down. So I don't know if they like just reshot it or whatnot. But the big toe looked very, very dislocated, and it kind of freaked me
Ugh.
out for a second. But that's when you get the cyborg gang. Uh, I don't think they gave her a name. I don't remember.
No, it's Sophie Catcher. That's all we know.
She comes in with a dagger, stabs Croissant, and all the other gang members come in and circle Croissant, and a big fight ensues. It
I
basically
love seeing.
ends. Oh, go ahead, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I love seeing vibro blades on screen because I'm assuming that's what that was. Is it was a vibro blade, and
It
we really haven't
looked.
seen those on screen.
No, we have
So
not. It did look like a vibroblade. It did kind of give me uh, a little reminiscence of the blades that oh shoot, from Rogue One. Not Rogue One. Solo Story.
yeah.
Oh shoot, what's his name? The crime lord played by Vision.
Oh,
Oh shoot. The name was literally on my
oh,
tongue and then I lost it.
I just saw his name too. Oh, okay.
I don't remember. S
Oh, let
Bubs,
me.
I know you're watching. If you can bring it up on the screen, I can't remember his name.
As Bob said, they used a real clone on set to get that screen talking about the toe.
But
Dragon Voss.
yes, yes. His blades, because it did glow red when she pulled out the blade to stab Croissant. But everybody uses a different weapon. There's like something like a electrical mace type of weapon, ball and chain. The other one used a blaster, and this all starts to move down towards the
Throne room.
main throne room, and of course they used it last episode. Of course, they're going to use it this episode. They trap Croissant in the dungeon,
Yeah.
and I was not expecting them to let him go at the next scene, because the next scene is the twins coming up, and you got your wish. You got your wish. You
I got
said
the female twin speaks.
she speaks. Yes, she had a legit conversation with Boba, and they basically say, "Hey, what we
We've been
did
kicked
wasn't.
off.
We got off on a wrong foot. We're sorry. We didn't mean to start a war. We don't want a war. We just, we got wrong information. So because of that, here is our gift to you." And they're like, "You get to keep Croissant, and you get a Rancor."
The Rancor is retribution for the assassination attempt, and
Yes,
Chrysanthemum is tribute.
basically. But he lets Chrysanthemum go, and Chrysanthemum just like walks away. I don't
He
know if
runs
that's
away. Give him more credit than that.
he
He
runs
runs.
away. Yes, he runs away. But do you think this is the last time we see Chrysanthemum?
I don't know because in this episode, it looks like they're not following the comic canon of when they met because it doesn't feel like they've ever met before.
No, it does not.
And they met in, I think, Kieran Gillen's run of Darth Vader.
Gillen.
Um,
Yeah, Gillen.
Gillen?
Yeah.
Sorry, trying. Um, and so it feels a little awkward, but you could still just go like, "Oh yeah, he's a Wookiee." Like you're not gonna get much love language out of him, and maybe I haven't read Gillen's run, so I don't know if Chrysanthemum was working for the Hutts at that time, or Boba knew he'd worked for the Hutts before. So
If
maybe it lines
anything,
up, maybe it
I would
doesn't.
have expected, and I know this is asking for way too much, and I didn't really expect it here in this episode, but looking back at it, I think it would have been kind of cool. He's just like, "Hey, I have a bad history with Wookiees. Like, get the hell out of here," harking back to that of Chewbacca.
Chewbacca, yeah.
I think that would have been kind of cool. But, you know, overall, I think this is a good mellow episode. Yes, there was action in there, and technically, there's been action in every single episode.
There's been action.
So I think it's working at a good pace. Uh, I feel like there is definitely some truth to some of those rumors that we were hearing that Boba was gonna be riding a Rancor because he legit
I think
asks.
that's so cool. And everyone was like, yeah, that's kind of cheesy. It goes back to like the like a bantha thing, and some of the dialogue was cringy in this. I'm still trying to figure out why the dialogue kind of did what it did, but I loved the scene with the Rancor. Like, man, I love getting misunderstood animals a new purpose and stuff, because like I know I saw somebody say, oh, so the Rancors are the pit bull of the Star Wars universe, where they're just misunderstood, but if you treat them right, they'll do well.
I
And
mean, we got to see a very heartwarming young Rancor in the Bad Batch just this past
yeah.
year. And so we got the idea of what they could be if they were grown right, quote
Hmm.
unquote. And I think just like any animal, I think that if it's unprovoked, then it's fine. But of course, because it looks mean and everything else, everybody's like, monster, blah. So he does ask, like, teach me how to ride this thing. And I
It's
think,
gonna be so cool, and
like,
I'd love to see like a flashback. And we won't get this, but like seeing the Witches of Dathomir riding a Rancor, that would be so cool to just like if we just seen like an image of that.
that
And
was,
but
I, I don't, so was that ever in Clone Wars? Seeing
it
anybody
was not
ride
in
a
Clone
Rancor?
Wars, but it was in Legends.
Okay. So because I just don't remember that at all. So like to be able to picture that, I think would be really, really cool.
Hmm.
But he does, uh, like everybody's been asking him, like when he shows up places, he's like, oh well, I didn't see your what is it called
Uh,
lay or I can't remember
Lift. I don't know.
it whatever it is that they
They
carry.
don't expect him to walk around town by himself.
Exactly. So he's gonna start showing up on a
On a
freaking Rancor.
Rancor.
People are gonna start respecting him. I think that
Yeah.
will definitely uh, turn some heads. It'll give people the right idea in the sense of like, oh shit, this guy means business.
Yeah.
We don't have to be thrown into his dungeon to get eaten by a Rancor. The Rancor can just eat us whenever. And I think
Mhm.
that will bring fear into people's eyes in Tatooine. And also, just because I literally just remembered, we got a little bit of a cameo in this episode. Uh, do you remember seeing the cameo?
What are you talking about?
Cameo from the Mandalorian.
No, I don't.
So it was I can't remember her name or her title, but it was the one who was fixing up Din Djarin's ship with all of the droids. She was walk
Oh
she walked down the street and all of her droids were following her.
no, I didn't catch her.
It was a
I know
blink
who you're
and you
talking
missed
about.
it. Honestly, it was a blink and you missed it moment. But
I watched it twice this morning, once at 3 a.m. and once at 4 a.m. So
but yeah, she was there. I thought that was really really cool. Just kind of giving you those connections, saying, "Hey,
yeah,
this is all one universe that these movies and TV shows come from." So
yeah.
I thought that was very very nice. But I think that's it overall. I still think this was a great episode. I cannot wait to see Boba Fett on a Rancor. I'm still waiting to see if any of our predictions as far as cameos or special appearances are going to be true. We have this is the third episode. What we have 4 episodes left?
Yep,
5? Is it?
4 episodes.
It's 7 episodes. Okay, yeah.
Yep,
So we have 4 episodes left. We are going to have, of course, our Fallen Star episode. Is the next thing me and Katie are going to be talking about. I don't know exactly when it will drop. I think Katie has more information on that, or unless we still need to talk about it. Um,
The
but
plan is we'll be live on here to talk about it. So we'll be live on YouTube, and then we'll probably drop it probably Friday, I would say.
sweet, cool. Of course, that gives everybody 2 weeks to complete the book. I am going to be listening to it at 2 times speed starting probably tomorrow because I've already finished it. And yeah, so of course, everybody can find me at FanboyClay on Twitter. You can find me hosting shows like DC Alliance, which I am actually, just heads up here. If you're live on YouTube, stick around. Me and Travis are going to be showing up pretty soon. Or if you're listening to this on any podcatcher, you can just show up on DC Alliance over there and listen to that. We are reviewing Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 1. Of course, I also have the podcast Batman News Weekly, the Ranger Alliance, and of course, this show right here, Star Wars Alliance, where we are live every single week, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter as well as at Slice of Katie. I will be talking more about Legend stuff there, as well as giving y'all a glimpse on when the Patreon episodes are going to go live. Remember, if you want to hear more about my Legends spiel, because I'm going to move dedicated reviews for those books to Patreon, or current canon Star Wars comics that do not involve the High Republic, those will all be Patreon episodes for the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network. As far as next week's episode, obviously we'll cover any news, not for the Fallen Star review. Fallen Star will just be Fallen Star. For next week's episode, it will be a little bit longer next week. We will be talking about any news that drops. We will also be talking about Eye of the Storm, Part 1, which is the Charles Soule comic. He got me to buy a single issue of a comic. Charles Soule, you should be damn proud, because that's really hard for me to do. But that was a 31-page comic, and it was interesting. I'll leave it at that. But we'll be talking about that next week, as well as the Book of Boba Fett episode 4. So make sure you're here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern to come talk about it all with us. You can follow the show on Twitter as well. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the wars. Very important. Don't forget it. And remember, if you want to be entered to win the Star Wars Legends Old Republic Omnibus Volume 1 from Organic Price Books, make sure to leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher, hopefully Apple or Spotify, because those are the best according to the SEO rankings. Then send us a screenshot of said review to the Star Wars Alliance Twitter, to Clay, or to me, and you'll be entered to win the book, which we'll be giving away at the end of the Book of Boba Fett. So that is it, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And I hope y'all have a great day or night, whatever time day you're listening or watching. And we'll see y'all next time. May the Force be with you.
See ya.